All right.
What episode are we? 6?
6.
Welcome back to episode 6 of Conversations with Robin Loon, named to be changed soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
And
We would take suggestions in the comments if you guys have
yeah,
good
please
name
suggest
ideas.
something. We need ideas, actually. That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think to turn to the comments.
Well, to be fair, Marky is probably the only one commenting.
Marky will comment.
But we appreciate your comment, Marky.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's begin the normal way.
Let's do the card.
You can do the card this time.
Sure. Nine of clubs. I think we got
Nine of
nine of
clubs.
spades last time or something.
Wow.
But all right. This is almost a plain question, but
Okay.
what is a skill that you want to learn?
I would like to learn how to wield a sword.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
have
cool.
a sword.
That's cool.
I've often thought of putting a post up in the backyard and practicing on it.
Wow.
That would be fun, I think.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that would be
Yeah.
not necessarily the most useful skill, at least right
Yeah.
now, but it could
It'd be fun.
potentially become useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, in a fight, if you really are trying to defend yourself, you could pick something up and then,
And use it.
swing it
Yeah,
around.
you would know
If
what
you
to do,
use
how
a
to
sword.
deflect stuff.
Yeah.
I think it would be good for multiple parts of your brain. Like,
Right?
you wouldn't
Yeah.
just be learning how to use a sword, but you'd be learning how to look at objects coming towards you and move in a
Right,
way.
like the spatial
that-
reasoning
yeah,
sort of thing.
I think that would be a really cool skill.
Yeah, that is
Obviously,
cool.
I couldn't train myself that way, right? I couldn't practice alone.
No, yeah, you need to like spar.
I
but,
would
like,
need some partners.
But even just like the physical movement is probably good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just moving quickly.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because
And yeah, I've thought, partly watching Joe Rogan and stuff, that it is. we really do it.
the mention.
Yeah, yeah. But
All right.
just that fighting is probably a very natural thing for humans.
Yeah.
Because like I guess originally it was like fighting other animals when we were hunting, but like I feel like it is a natural thing that most people just don't do. And maybe it is better for like your brain or something.
I bet there's some aspect of that, and also just like moving quickly. Like when you're in a fight, you're moving quickly,
Mhm.
and we don't do that anymore. We sit all day, even when
Yeah.
we're at the gym. Apart from cardio and running,
Mhm.
we're slowly pushing these heavy weights up.
Yeah, I kind of push them up quickly sometimes, but like
But never like
Not
a
that
punch.
much.
It's never like a
not
punch.
yeah, not like an actual punch. Yeah,
It's like, yeah, you're pushing it up, but it's still like you're pushing something slowly, like
Yeah.
more slowly than you would be
that is interesting.
like even running. And I think a punch is
Yeah.
probably faster than running. I
yeah,
feel.
definitely.
Yeah,
like
it's way faster.
yeah, like your legs are moving pretty fast when you run, but like
Yeah, your
it's
legs are moving
different.
fast. Yeah.
yeah,
No.
I think maybe doing sort of like aerobic sort of stuff. Maybe not just running, but like
Yeah.
there is like dynamic movements you can do and stuff that maybe are better.
Dynamic movements. I think that's
I don't
really
know.
the key. Doing something that's dynamic and
Yeah.
is adjusting to the situation. Like not just doing like
Oh,
a certain
sure.
pattern almost.
I was thinking pattern
Just-
sort of thing. But
yeah, I think the
Mhm.
patterns just get locked into your brain and you just end up doing the patterns over and over.
yeah.
And it's
That's
almost
almost-
not as good as like
Yeah.
reacting to a sword
Sure.
coming your way
I
or like
think
a
with-
fight.
With fighting though, like if you're like a trained fighter, you're still doing patterns and stuff. Like
Yeah.
they train like a certain type of punch over and over again.
Yes. But then in the fight itself, like when you're
Yeah.
sparring,
It is different.
like you're moving around the mat, you're looking where the
Yeah.
person's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's really
It
important.
is definitely
The quick movements. I mean, it's probably really good just to do the quick movements on their own.
Sure.
Because I bet if most people tried to punch a punching bag, first of all, they would really hurt their hand, I
Yeah,
think.
I wish.
I'm surprised how people can actually punch and not just destroy their hand.
Yeah, there must.
I
be
really want to learn that. That's something else. Another skill
Yeah.
I want to learn. Yeah.
Sure, punching. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't said what I want to learn.
Yeah. Louis' skill.
I'm not sure. I've had bad questions. I have bad answers to these. I'm usually more interested in your answer because I don't know. I think a decent skill that I am actually learning from this podcast, hopefully, is
Yeah.
just communicating better.
That's a good one.
Because something I
Yeah.
have like, I feel like I have a lot of good ideas in my head sometimes. Like not just like ideas to like make things, but like more like just like philosophical ideas sort of, and I'm just not great at conveying them. And it's actually something I was thinking about the other day, is that when I think of something in my head, I'm kind of thinking almost like, people write in like shorthand with like abbreviations and like really not writing everything out because like I know what I'm thinking.
Yes.
So I sort of just like skip around and like can very
Mhm.
quickly think of things,
Yep.
but it doesn't work to put that into words.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just really bad at like explaining what my argument is. And it sometimes seems like I'm just like really jumping to conclusions or like just not building the argument properly. But it's just because in my mind it makes sense. And in words it doesn't, kind of.
Yeah, I think that everyone definitely does that with their brain. Like
Mhm.
when I'm thinking of things, it's not just that I'm thinking in a shorthand,
Mhm.
but what's really annoying about thinking things and trying to convey them is that you have so much background knowledge.
Yeah.
Like all the information you know is in your brain.
Mhm.
And there is no guarantee that any of that information is in anyone else's brain. And so if you're trying to explain an idea,
Mhm.
like even just why a certain food is like why a dish that a chef made is a nice dish,
Mhm.
like you might have to explain, like you might know that the ingredients used are rare and that it's better to use these organic ingredients, and other people might just not get it and they might have a completely different standard for why a dish is good. And there's like a million things like that in
Yeah.
society, like when you're talking
Mhm.
about politics, not to get political,
Nah,
but
sure, sure.
there's a lot that
Yeah,
goes
politics is
into
heavy
it.
too.
There's
Yeah.
so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
And people just
Mhm.
don't have the same information. That's a real
Right.
downside.
Yeah, and also it depends on the subject of it, because it's like, maybe if I was trying to explain something about chemistry, like obviously you didn't like major in chemistry, so I know that you don't know, the chemical formula for something,
Yeah.
and that's like an obvious thing that like I would have to explain if I was going to explain something. But with almost like with politics, it's the sort of thing that you learn your whole life, so
And
it's
you
really
assume
hard.
that people might know some
Yeah,
things.
it's really hard to know how much someone knows, or like what sort of influences they had, and like you really have to use a different logic and different like building blocks for the argument and stuff like that.
And what's really scary, as opposed to chemistry where you're learning like these facts and people might
Right.
not know the facts,
Mhm.
you're learning in politics contradictory facts.
Yeah, that is also an issue.
And that, I just think it comes down to, you don't start with politics at the building blocks. Like people
Mhm.
have these issues, you need to vote now. You turn 18, you
Yeah.
need to vote.
Mhm.
And there's no time to go to the basics of like, what is life and what are we trying to do? And like, what was good policy 100 years ago? Like,
Mhm.
there's no time for it. So you just have to go to, what should I vote for right now?
Yeah, I think the issue is that it's so hard to know what the actual right answer is.
Yeah, it takes so
That
much
people-
time probably.
Yeah, most people almost just don't care, because like there may be an issue in the way our politics are set up, is that it doesn't matter, kind of. Like it doesn't matter if you're right or not. It just matters if you can convince people that you're right or not.
Yeah,
Or
that's
get
the
people
real,
to follow you.
Exactly. That's the real downside to the politicians today.
Mm-hmm.
Getting elected doesn't have anything to
Yeah.
do with are you good at leading or good at being in government
Or being right.
or being right.
'Cause most
It's
people
just, can you
don't worry
convince
about it.
people to put a little dot next to your name on the ballot?
Yeah.
And that's real. That's all the only skill you need to get
Yeah.
elected into the highest office. Like,
Yeah, really. Like
that's a real downside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't think Donald Trump wasn't talking about some economic policies? He was
No.
talking about like
No.
rallying people
He
and
was like,
getting
let's
them.
build the wall.
And it's like, people rightfully don't like him, but it's like he knows what he's doing. He did
Yeah.
it right.
Oh yeah, he was on TV.
He-
I mean, talk about a similar skill set. He was on TV for years doing TV shows,
Yeah.
getting the views. He knew what got the views
Right.
and what got the good ratings, and
Yeah.
he used the exact same techniques to
Yep.
get people to vote for him. So
Yeah.
yeah,
People really need to realize that the issue isn't Donald Trump. It's the fact that doing a Donald Trump type of thing works so
yeah.
well.
It's, I mean, it was the best thing to do. Like
Yeah.
that was what was right for him
Right.
to do.
Like,
it
yeah.
was not right morally, but right in an effective sense.
Yeah,
like
but
he was
people-
actually getting results.
But like, definitely my family gets very angry thinking about Trump because of his like evil sounding policies and the way he talks and stuff. But it's like he is not the issue. The issue is the politics.
is that you can
Yeah.
do that and win, and win by a lot.
Yeah. Is it a meme?
No,
It's
yeah, I don't know.
That's definitely, he tweeted like, I won this election.
He's
by a
gonna
lot."
win bigly. Yeah. A tremendous victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, something
right.
like that. But
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't even know what the solution to that kind of a problem is. Like, what?
Yeah.
How could you give people freedom to
Actually,
vote and choose?
I don't mean to change the subject,
Yeah.
but we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Not
AI,
Tenet.
AI.
Tenet.
Tenet.
Not Tenet. AI.
Okay. You really want to talk about Tenet?
As I was saying that, I thought of it.
Yeah.
No. AI
Okay, AI
would solve
it
that.
would be great at choosing.
And then immediately afterwards, just take over the entire world.
Yeah, that's the downside because, yeah, that would be the downside. That
Yeah.
what's good for the AI isn't necessarily good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've watching some like TED Talks and stuff about AI. And it is really interesting because it's like, I guess we already kind of knew that AI is kind of inevitable and probably pretty soon.
Yeah.
Maybe not as soon as I have thought in the past. Like, I don't know. The one guy was
How
talking
soon do you
about,
think?
I'd be thinking like 5 to 10 years, but that's probably not that realistic.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Could be. Military technology, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to slow down. the one guy I was talking or watching who had like a TED talk about like how to make AI, like build an AI that won't just immediately take over the world or whatever, was talking about how they pulled like the top 100 like machine learning scientists or something. I think this was like a few years ago. This isn't very old, but and I think like 50% of them said that by 2040 or 2050, we will probably have a super intelligent AI,
Wow.
which seems pretty realistic to me.
And they just need a little bit more funding to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not to jump around too much, but also
All right.
I was watching another TED talk that was from like 2014 where he was talking about machine learning and like the sort of like AI thing that you think of where it can recognize an image and say like that's a picture of like a dog or
Yeah,
whatever.
we have that pretty good now.
Yeah, but it's like it was talking about like listening to your voice, translating it to like Chinese text, and then Chinese text to speech in your voice.
Ooh,
It's like
that's cool.
he showed like a clip of it, a guy doing like a speech and like real time translating it. It's like, how did we read that far in 2014 and we're not like we don't have AI right now?
So wait,
seems
he's
like,
saying he did that in 2014?
he was like another guy's like speech where he was
Yeah.
like doing a live conference in China, speaking English.
And we have an AI currently that can do that?
Yeah, it was like a learning algorithm that was able to.
Why aren't we
Read
using
his
that
speech.
in all the phones?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
What are we doing?
yeah,
The
I think
translators are lobbying against it. They don't want
I wonder. I mean, part of
Yeah.
it probably has gone into making like the Siri and stuff like that.
But
like,
Siri's
it's-
not that good. She can't translate your voice live. Like she sucks.
don't know.
Even if you just say, "Hey, translate this," like she gives you some shitty Google Translate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it might have been it needs like a really good computer or something, but
Mhm. But it was
It-
live translating the
live,
speech
like-
in the guy's voice.
like it wasn't like he would say something and then a second later would say the same thing in Chinese
In his voice?
in his voice. Like, and it took a lot of training and stuff for the algorithm to
Yeah.
be able to talk in his voice.
Okay.
Like he explained that like
Oh,
They
like
had
he
it listen
spoke into the machine and
for like however many hours, and then it
Yeah.
kind of learned how to make the machine sound
Okay.
like him.
that's cool.
But it's
And
like
we haven't used that since
yeah, we haven't used it.
2014.
And it seems like when I watched it, I was so surprised that like he also talked about other things of the AI being able to like or it's not really AI, it's like a algorithm learning how to recognize cars really well, and like
Yeah.
you can kind of like train it. Or no, also there was like a demonstration with the cars, but using it to like detect cancer and things like that in like scans. And it seems like the sort of thing that
Yeah.
really could just very quickly become very, very useful, and we just don't have.
And we haven't used it.
Yeah.
And speaking of the AIs and cars,
Mhm.
have you noticed when you're logging onto some kind of website
Mhm.
and you have the CAPTCHA login, it's always you clicking on pictures of a motorcycle or a
Yeah.
bus or a stop sign or
A lot of them
traffic
are like that.
lights.
Mhm.
Are they using that and feeding it into the AI so that
I
like are
hadn't
they
thought about
using us to train the AI to self-drive?
Wow, I hadn't thought about that, but
That's
that makes
very
a lot of
possible. That's very
sense.
possible.
Specifically for self-driving,
Because
yeah.
it seems like sometimes like it's
Wow.
arbitrary, like what corner
Mhm.
the stoplight corner is in, and if
Yeah.
you add that, like it seems like either you add it or you don't, and you still get to log in.
Yeah,
It might not really be testing us.
that is pretty cool.
It might just be using us to like teach
Yeah.
AIs how. To
I hadn't thought
recognize,
about that, but then if you think about it, like if it's training an AI to be able to recognize that stuff,
yeah.
it's not doing its purpose because it's then like
No, it's not capturing
creating
anything,
AI
yeah.
that will be able to act like a human for those tests.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
But
I
that
feel like at
makes a
this
lot of
point,
sense.
if we have self-driving cars, the AI can already recognize that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the captchas are really.
no, I think the
doing.
captures are meant for people making a shitty bot
really shitty
for like
bots.
DDoS
Yeah,
and something.
I think they're stopping shitty bots, not hardcore
An actual
hackers
AI,
with an
yeah.
AI.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
would not be surprised
I thought it's a-
whatsoever because it's always traffic.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah.
I would think, I would think that like the reason they would have traffic stuff is because we've kind of like been trained to recognize that stuff really well, and it's just
Mhm.
like from an outside perspective, it's a really chaotic sort of image, like
yeah.
a road full of cars. You can tell if there's like a single car facing the wrong way, you
Yeah.
know right away. But like
Yeah.
someone that doesn't,
Or if there's a bus, you can see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
if someone didn't grow up on Earth or like the signs and stuff like that,
I guess cars are kind of universal, like on the planet. Yeah.
and
everyone
it's just like
here.
if you don't really know what a car is, it might not seem as significant or like a sign.
But theoretically, some people
Yeah.
might not know what a horse is. Maybe.
Yeah, or just like random things that you
Yeah.
don't really recognize that well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it could
Click on the chicken Alfredo in this. What the
Yeah.
hell? I'm not Italian.
click on the,
Yeah.
the piece of oregano and not the
yeah.
basil or something.
yeah, something like that. I guess. And they probably don't parse through all of those pictures by hand. Like they probably,
Oh, yeah.
if they already have a self-driving AI,
Yeah.
let it decide which squares.
Maybe they've just maybe it's the other way around. They already have an AI
Yeah.
that's good at picking
At
pictures
picking
of cars,
stop signs and
and then it's able to easily make those.
yeah, that could be it. That could
That'd
be
be
it.
funny.
But I never thought about it. It was actually
Mhm.
someone whose name we cannot speak who
Yes.
introduced the idea
One of
to
our
me.
one of our good friends. So
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
I can't remember it either. But he introduced the idea to me, and it blew my mind. I was like,
Mhm.
because at this point, I mean, it's possible they're just using it because they have the AI already.
Yeah.
But it would make so much more sense
If they were training
if
it.
they just trained it.
That
if Tesla was
I
just like
that.
hiring out CAPTCHA, just like, hey,
I like that idea.
we need
Yeah.
this. Because how else are they going to do it? Like, I doubt
Yeah.
they have people sitting in a room saying, this is a stop sign, this is a traffic light.
Well, actually, that does kind of tie into the TikTok thing of it had like a million images of cars and stuff, and you sort of like it produces like a 3D or like kind of like a cloud
Mm-hmm.
where it has like offshoots. He said like some sort of like 100-dimensional thing or something. I can't remember the number, but
100-dimensional thing.
and you can basically you can like rotate it in different dimensions, and it sort of has.
Hold on. Explain what the hell you're talking
I'm really not explaining it very well. Okay, you have like an AI or learning algorithm that you feed in a million pictures of cars.
A million different pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
And it sort of makes like a cloud that each dimension is like a different aspect of it that it notices.
Okay.
And then you can go through it and see each dimension like it has like a big cloud.
And in
Fit.
making up this cloud is all the pictures of cars.
Yeah, it's like a all the pictures of cars. A lot of them are in the middle,
Okay.
but there's a few that shoot off this way, and you
Yeah.
see
Why do they shoot off? What's the point?
because
of the
you can
cloud?
then look at it and see, oh, it's recognizing like the headlights or whatever, and then you rotate it in a different direction, and it is shooting off another way. You can kind of see that it's recognizing, the mirrors or something.
Like making it. Okay, so they've digitalized this and they have this on a screen, a big
Yeah.
cloud with all these pictures making up each particle in the cloud.
Yeah, pretty much.
And when you rotate it,
It's hard to explain without seeing it.
yeah.
But it's kind of like it's rotating in different dimensions, so it's like each dimension has a different thing that it's pointing out, kind of.
Okay, so the pictures all turn when you rotate it. Or
Yeah,
you-
all the pictures turn, and then
Okay.
some of them, like the initial thing that we sticking out, kind of goes back, and then another thing sticks out when you go to a different dimension of it.
Oh, like it kind of makes the image 3D almost, and like
Yeah.
the headlights pop out of the image. A little bit?
No, it's pictures of headlights. Like the ones that are of
Oh,
headlights
okay.
will pop out.
So those become more visible, and the cars go away, and the tires like kind of
yeah,
disappear.
pretty much. And then
Okay.
you manually go in and say these are headlights.
Is that how our brains work? Kind of. It's like a cloud neural network.
I
and
think
then-
it's kind of different.
Okay.
I think our brain works on like seeing something once, and that becomes like a prototype. For then you see it again, and you start to
and it strengthens
refine
the
what it
connection
is
or something.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing.
That's interesting.
But
So
yeah,
we're not really making AIs based off our brains.
I
At
think
least
it's
not that AI.
I think it's probably programmed similarly, but it doesn't learn the same way necessarily.
So what was the
But that one
benefit of that?
Oh, so
AI?
wait, sorry. We shouldn't get too off topic.
Yeah, yeah.
But how do we start on that?
Cars, AI, CAPTCHA.
You're talking about
How far back are we going?
Jesus Christ, like a second ago, before I started explaining that thing poorly.
I think it was just the CAPTCHA. I mean, they're using cars.
I definitely was
Train
trying
it.
to make some point connected to it.
I
Oh,
don't
well.
know.
We are new to podcasting and are
Yeah,
bad
we
at
need
focusing.
we have
Yeah.
memory
We
problems.
really. All right, we should go back to the AI a little bit. We are definitely
Okay.
veering too far into car talk.
into car AIs.
Yeah,
I
But-
mean that's just one of the most prevalent uses of it right now.
it is. Yeah,
Like the truck drivers are all going
Yeah.
away.
but I guess what I was thinking initially was that AI algorithm thing, or sorry, deep learning algorithm thing that he's talking about in that TED talk, where it can, he said basically like in 15 minutes it can do the work of like a few years of people trying to pick out cars and figure out what each thing does.
Oh, just because
It's like a
doing
million
it
images.
instantly.
It's like a million images, and it takes, he said, one person 15 minutes to identify enough to like make an algorithm that can identify any car, basically.
Wow, that's cool.
Mhm.
So
I'm just
it-
thinking, like,
oh, that's really cool.
we don't know, we're not aware of AIs that are that good,
yeah.
but it's like, that was in 2014. I didn't say that initially. In
Yeah.
7 years, just think
They
how
could
good.
have made a much better AI.
No, they probably have made better AIs for like YouTube
Yeah.
and TikTok and stuff. Like,
yeah,
just think how good those are.
those are really fucking good.
Like, that's the sort of thing that makes me think that really like super intelligent sort of AI is not as
Not
far off
that
as we
far
think.
off.
Like, yeah.
The thing is,
Mhm. Yeah.
kind of like how we were talking about how politicians, how it's not the ones that are best at leading who get elected, it's the ones who are best at getting elected.
Yeah.
It's the AIs that are best at making money that get made.
Yeah.
And those aren't the super intelligent ones.
Right.
Those are the ones that are like, I can get people to click this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
drive a car.
But the thing is,
yeah.
what happens when that YouTube algorithm?
It's going to be some guy in their basement who makes the big AI.
or
Yeah.
that algorithm starts getting too good, and starts realizing, hey, if we make videos that hypnotize people, we can convince them to stay on their computer the entire day and never leave their house.
Yeah. I mean, the algorithm isn't making the videos, but
No,
promoting
what
videos
if
that
it figured out?
hypnotize people.
What if it figure out how to like
Yeah.
manipulate people into making videos?
Yeah.
Say there's
Into
some
making videos.
eager YouTuber in their basement or
Yeah.
whatever. They're like, God, the algorithm isn't working. I can't get any people to watch my videos.
That should be a natural leap. Like
Yeah.
people making videos
Yeah.
should get the most views if they can get people to watch it the longest.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they have done.
Sure.
They haven't done it in like a creepy like hypnotism way.
Yeah.
Because if we actually thought, like if we actually saw something that was creepy and looked hypnotic, we wouldn't watch it that
No,
long.
yeah, I know.
But they definitely, like, it is hypnotism, like what
Yeah.
Mr. Beast does,
Sure.
where he just shows you, like, you know,
Money.
he flashes
Yeah.
between different scenes quickly, and, like, he's always keeping your attention, and he shows, like, wild things.
Yeah.
That's a form of hypnotism.
Yeah.
Like, he's tricking you into
Yeah.
just, like,
Well, the thing I'm talking
continuously
about,
watching.
it definitely sounds like a conspiracy theory sort of
Yeah.
thing, but it's like,
It's real. It's happening.
again, actual, like a more realistic version of what I was saying is kind of like
It's
what they're
going
doing
on
still.
right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the most popular videos are.
Yeah.
You click them, and you're
But the
just
thing
like,
is-
I don't know why I'm watching this, but I'm watching it, and I
Right.
can't stop.
And people on their phones all day and stuff. It's like,
yeah.
and how much further.
That's what TikTok does.
Yeah, TikTok is like insane.
It is hypnotism. Yeah.
Viewers, stay off TikTok.
Stay off. I deleted mine.
Yeah, I've never had it.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad.
Yeah.
But how much further does the AI need to go? We're like, well, I guess what I'm thinking is that it's doing a really good job of getting people's attention and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, how much more intelligent does it need to be to then start improving on itself and doing things that we didn't intend for it to do? In terms of like, I don't know, just doing things that like we had no idea how good it could be at getting people's
I
attention.
just don't know if it's built to do that. Like until they
Yeah.
build it so that it can edit its code,
Sure.
will it?
But
I
the
don't
thing
know if
is-
it'll ever change.
The thing is, the way learning algorithms works is that
Yeah.
they are made to do that. Like, not like
Oh.
not consciously edit its code,
Yeah.
but it's like as it gets new data and learns things, it is indirectly changing its own code.
But I believe that's like within a certain. There's a range of what it can change. Like
Mhm.
it maybe couldn't change like this is how I turn on and off, but it
Yeah,
could
not
change
that.
like this is what I promote in YouTube.
The thing is,
Like,
that's true.
I believe there are some controls on it.
I agree that there's some controls, but I'm just thinking in terms of like, this is kind of getting a little like esoteric might not be the right word, but in terms of like the development of intelligence, it's like, I feel like, you know, human intelligence developed from some sort of unintelligent thing.
Yeah.
It's like we don't really know what it is that causes something to start being, you know, conscious and start being
Yeah.
able to like manipulate its environment in a more meaningful way than like animals do, kind of.
Yeah. So it could just pop up.
And it's like, yeah, we don't know the sort of limits you have to put on an AI for it to
Mhm.
not gradually start improving itself more than it needs to, or like improving itself in a way that then lets it do things that like we like. I'm not explaining it properly. It starts improving itself in a way that gives itself the ability to start gaining new ways to improve itself.
Yes. Like what
that make
humans
sense?
have. Yes. I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think that is if we just ran these experiments forever
Yeah.
and let the algorithms just go,
Mhm.
that's inevitable.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it's very rare, I feel. Like look at all the life on the planet.
Yeah.
Humans are the one thing that evolved to really like change their environment and
Right.
make new technologies and think of themselves that we know of.
Yeah.
Maybe other things do it, but they're not doing it that great.
Sure.
It just seems so rare. It was so random
rare.
and by happenstance, and it lasted millions, if not billions,
But-
of years.
That is true. But to be fair, evolution is just like a random thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It just randomly
Oh yeah. It's just
accidentally
randomly.
made.
That's what I'm
humans.
saying.
We're very intentionally making something smart.
Yes, we are.
That is the difference, I think.
But we've only been doing it for, I mean, at the most, like 20 or 30 years. Like we weren't really working on AI
Yeah.
before that. So
yeah, some of the first AI was like not that long ago.
yeah. So I mean, I could see it taking 50 or 100
Sure.
before it happens to random. Like, because we're not specifically like changing things, making them intelligent. Because we don't even
Yeah.
understand like what about us is
Yeah.
making us this way.
But I think
Like we're pushing in
Yeah.
the right direction. We can change
Yeah.
it from a few billion to 50 or 100.
sure.
But I don't think it's just going to pop up tomorrow. Is what I'm saying. I don't know
Yeah.
if we're that close.
I'm not necessarily saying tomorrow, but I think.
It could.
But yeah, the way I'm thinking about it at least is that like we don't understand it. We don't. Yeah, like I agree that we don't understand intelligence enough to like intentionally make it. but we also don't understand it well enough to know how close something is to being intelligent. Like,
I see what you're saying.
we also, I mean, I don't know if even the programmers of like the YouTube AI
I don't
know
think
what's going on in it.
probably
but like,
not,
whatever measures they have of it better be good enough to know.
because it's done some bad stuff before. It's
Oh,
promoted
yeah.
like flat Earth theory to people. Like it sends
Right.
them down those rabbit holes of
Yeah.
you're a conspiracy theorist,
And
so I'll
it-
send you this and
yeah.
this, and there are cults too.
And it's like, yeah, who knows what sort of like,
yeah,
what sort of things it could be doing that we just aren't aware of, and like, who knows when that thing it's doing is something that leads to its like awakening. Or some
oh,
shit.
like things it's doing that aren't related to video.
Or not that sort of thing. More like this sort of like ideas that it has about what people want,
Oh,
and it might start getting weird ideas that just like we're not aware of, like what it's
Yeah.
thinking, like why it promotes things.
yeah. I mean, they probably have a pretty big team
Yeah.
watching it and making sure and like flagging videos and getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me actually if they had multiple algorithms. If they have one,
Oh, yeah.
and then they have one that
Analyzing it.
watches it and makes
Yeah,
sure, and they have
that
a
could
couple that are like analyzing it. Hey, it's doing something weird.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that makes so much sense. They probably
Yeah.
do. It makes
'Cause,
sense
yeah.
to not trust one with
Right.
everything.
Yeah, because I was
Yeah.
thinking, actually, yeah, that is a really good point. Because what I was thinking is that like with humans, when we interact with each other, I don't know like what you're thinking in your head. Like, I only know what like the words you're using are.
Yeah,
And it's like the AI, like the videos it recommends are like the words.
yeah.
But something that useful that humans have is being able to simulate others, experiences. Like you make a facial expression, I know like I can kind of
yeah,
infer
you can
what
draw
you're
on
thinking.
your past experience to see like what might I be
Exactly.
feeling. Yeah.
And then yeah, you're talking about like an AI a secondary AI that can kind of like interpret.
Because
This
it's
AI
an AI too.
Yeah, this AI is recommending videos of this genre. This is why it's doing it.
That I was almost thinking just
Yeah.
so that it could catch weird stuff.
Yeah,
like
or-
if the
yeah.
AI starts deterring from what it's
Sure.
meant to do,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, what's going on here?
Sure,
Take a look
sure,
at
sure.
this, humans. Like it just
Yeah.
finds it and alerts us.
Or yeah,
Yeah.
there'd be like a thing of like normally it knows, this is why it's doing this, and then it starts doing something weird, and it's like,
Yeah.
wait, this isn't what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there could definitely otherwise be like just a small subset of YouTube that's really strange that just, I mean, who's going to look at the videos? Like no one actually, I'm sure at YouTube watches
sure.
all the videos. Like you can't.
Yeah, they
There's way
can.
too much getting
There's like
uploaded.
billions a day. Like,
And otherwise, there must be like some small pockets of really weird stuff that's probably bad and potentially illegal.
probably.
I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of rules about what you
Yeah.
can and can't show on YouTube.
Mhm.
And they must have AIs. Maybe it's just the one algorithm that does it that
Uh-huh.
looks and says like, is this a body? Is it dead? Is there blood?
Right.
I mean, there must be stuff like that to make sure
But like,
that.
how well can you tell? Like, what if it's just someone sleeping? Like,
Yeah, I mean
You have to
that's
really
that's
get
when
it
it
right.
probably flags it and says like, hey, this body
Oh,
hasn't moved.
sure.
Look at it for like, just send it to a human. They have
Yeah.
a big team, I'm sure, that looks
sure
at
they
that
do.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Actually, I think I've heard. I can't remember where I saw this. It might have been like a bullshit thing, but like talking about like people like in like third world countries that are just like in rooms just watching
Yeah.
shitty YouTube videos all day, trying
Yeah.
to catch ones that are bad or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like because there are just like billions of them.
And I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if a part of the algorithm
Mhm.
was, seeing like, oh, there's a very select group of people that are watching this content, like a very closed off group. They don't watch much other content. They just watch this kind of thing.
Sure.
Let's send one of those videos they're watching to some random people and see what they think. And do they report it?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could do that.
Yeah, they could see like, hey, it's a really strange group of
Yeah.
people watching this.
But also
yeah.
something else that I've noticed, or maybe someone else pointed it out to me, is when you get like a weird recommendation. Like I think one of our friends were talking about TikTok, where like
yeah.
they were like, "Wow, look at this weird TikTok I got," and it wasn't like illegal or anything. It was just like a strange thing outside of their normal.
Like it doesn't fit into their.
Yeah, but-
yeah.
it got them to show it to me,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they watched it and then
Yep.
watched another one similar to it.
Yes.
It's like
It
what
has
if
to throw new
finds-
stuff in every now and then.
No, but what if it finds weird niche things that like are getting like the attention of one group of people that are kind of weird, but then it starts recommending those videos randomly to people and kind of catches them and sees,
Yeah, and brings them into the niche.
yeah, who else wants to watch this weird
It
niche
must.
video?
I mean, the algorithm
Yeah.
must have realized, like, okay, if I just show people like the exact same thing over and over and over, they use the app pretty
Yeah.
constantly
Mhm.
for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Then they stop.
but you can get their
It has
attention
a
with the new
it has a
thing.
bigger time horizon than that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Now
is very
the real question is,
Mhm.
is if people started living much longer.
Yeah.
And using these apps, and we became wiser the older we got.
Oh yeah.
And people would probably, if they'd realized that the app was kind of tricking them into just doing useless stuff, eventually, after like 20 years,
Mhm.
after becoming that wise, you might realize like, okay, let's turn the app off. How
Sure.
would that change the app so that it would show you more useful things and real stuff
Oh.
and not just an addiction time wasting thing that you could eventually overcome
Sure.
in more time than probably a human lifetime.
Mhm.
But I just think that would be really cool if we change.
That is interesting.
Yeah, if we
If you
change
gradually
the
start-
time horizon of the AI to realize
Mhm.
like what's really good for me over the long term,
Oh, I see what you're saying. So,
100 years. Yeah.
Sort of like let it realize that this sort of thing won't last. This sort
That
of
it can only
addiction-
last for so many years. I mean, I imagine
Yeah.
you must like addicts eventually, like maybe they do it for a decade, but eventually like someone
Mhm.
wakes them up to the fact like they get exposed to something and realize like I shouldn't be addicted. They try to quit. I think
What are you talking about? Like drug addictions?
like any kind of addiction.
Yeah.
They're all kind of similar.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But I think we probably have the most data on drug addictions because it's like a
Probably,
very
yeah.
well documented thing. I think it's almost hard to know though, because like with like heroin or something, like
Mm.
a lot of times you lose access to it or whatever. Or like people put you in jail and you have to stop doing it.
Yeah.
With AI and stuff like that, it's such a normalized thing. Like everybody, like literally everyone in our friend group is addicted to their phones. It's
Yeah.
like it's not like the sort of thing where people have any idea that it's a problem.
No, but
But
I
I
think
guess-
that over the course of years, like if we
Mhm.
kept telling them like, hey, watch out for it, and like
Yeah.
just if not even if just us, but if they just get information,
Yeah.
then eventually they'll consolidate that information into ideas that are like, I should be wary of using this too much,
Yeah.
like over the course
Right.
of a lifetime.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. And these algorithms haven't been around that long. Like they
Yeah.
might just not realize yet, like
Oh,
the
sure.
users drop off after 10 years because just naturally there's a decline. Like they
Yeah.
realize this isn't good.
I hope you're right.
I think that's a very possible thing.
I think you're wrong because I think you're underestimating how good it can be at finding more
New users.
more useless things that can keep you for more than 10 years, like just infinitely.
Well, I just think that useless things would lose their luster. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
be interested in seeing. I mean, you can only watch people do a TikTok dance so many times. Like, all right, the TikTok dances might be dead now.
The thing is,
Yeah.
people haven't been dancing for thousands of years,
Yes.
and I don't think it's something that's going to end.
But
Yeah.
the dances that people used to do were probably more like at a ceremony or like
Yeah.
a wedding or like a special occasion.
Yeah.
It wasn't just whenever I want it on my phone right now.
Yeah.
And I can watch it for an hour
Sure.
or 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think that it was more rare and people kept
Sure.
their interest. But if it's really drawing you in and you're spending hours a day
Yeah.
watching that thing, you're going to eventually realize
don't
like
know.
you're just going to get bored of staring at it, I think.
I think I don't know though.
Like if you lived for 100
seems like
years,
you should,
like
but-
you like movies and whatnot.
Sure.
But if you lived for 100 years, you'd have seen a ton of movies and you'd be like, all right, what
Yeah.
can they really do on that screen? Like, unless they're
Yeah.
teaching me new stuff, like, am
Sure.
I really interested in seeing the same tropes over and over again, the same
that's true.
battles?
I think actually
After 100 years.
so yeah, I think something that keeps people like I guess a lot of these things have been going on for a long time. Like movies haven't been like for billions of years or millions of years
Yeah.
or whatever. But I think cultural evolution sort of changes things gradually enough or changes things around so that, dance always becomes interesting because you're not doing the same dance for 100 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you're right in that it's such a condensed thing that you're constantly, viewing this one thing, like say dance or whatever.
Yeah.
Like constantly doing TikTok dances or whatever. It can only develop so much that it starts to become old. And it's like if you're viewing it constantly, you're using up the like viewing time of it before it can evolve.
Yeah.
I don't know if the cultural evolution will speed up
Well, here's the
to
thing.
combat that, but I think technological evolution can change it in ways we might not anticipate yet. But sorry, say what you're gonna say.
Like with the dancing.
Yeah.
People were watching that for thousands of years and partaking in it, but the lifespan was much shorter.
Sure.
If people were living to be 80 years old, would they still be interested in
I
seeing
see
the
what you're
same dances when they're 80 as opposed to like,
Mhm.
the first like 10 years of your life, you're not really dancing. I mean, you're kind of like waving around, but you're still really learning like, what is the
Mhm.
world?
Yeah.
Maybe then you're living to 40
Mhm.
if you're in like a medieval society.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So you get 30 years of
Mhm.
seeing dance and, the last 10, maybe you're crippled or something. Who knows?
Sure.
So it's not really that
Wait,
much
how many
time.
years did you say?
The last like 10, I don't know.
Wait,
last
the
5.
whole lifespan is like 40 years. You said?
Yeah, I mean, people
right?
did not live very long. People
Yeah,
are
I
not
guess.
living 80. Like, yeah, maybe a king.
They're definitely
who
not
was-
80, but like
Yeah,
sure, whatever.
people weren't even
regardless of
living
the
like
exact
50 or
time.
60. They were living very short lives.
Really, I thought 50 was around.
There was just so much disease. Like, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
50, but a
yeah.
lot, but that was probably the average, right? Some people
Sure.
would live past, a lot of people would die sooner.
Yeah. I mean, I think infant mortality.
The
is
infant
really high.
mortality
Anyway,
rate, really.
we're getting distracted.
Yeah.
The point is, throughout your lifespan, you sort of get tired of things.
I
you're
think
saying?
you would get tired of
Yeah.
I mean, but the dance is not a useless, like, addiction.
Yeah.
Like TikTok
sure,
is.
sure.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you're exercising, you're feeling
Yeah,
healthy because
but
of
I
it. You're
think-
getting real rewards
Mhm.
and benefits, and you're interacting with people.
I don't
think
know,
it's
though.
a different thing.
Yeah. I think the problem might be, though, that everything in a human mind is chemical. And the issue, like, okay, so we think things are useful because it gives us more of like variety of chemicals and stuff.
Yeah.
Because, normally it's because it actually is useful. You like have like bonding in your tribe or whatever from dancing.
Yeah.
Or, like you're interacting with people in a meaningful way. If a really good AI is able to not necessarily make videos, but like from a huge pool of videos, recommend anything it wants, don't you think it will be able to sort of stimulate those parts of your brains instead of just giving you like pure dopamine of like the coolest dance or whatever? It can give you things to trick you into thinking, you're friends with this Korean K-pop band or
Yeah.
something, and think, there's even a thing now, like people think they know actors better than they actually do, that sort of thing. Like they're like, oh, my friend.
So it might try to harbor a connection between you two. Like, it
Who
might
knows?
try
Like
to-
it could do anything it wants. Like there's definitely ways to trick people.
There are other bad things that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
But-
think we really think that like it's mindless and stuff,
Yeah.
and that's probably partly because we're from the outside view, but people inside probably don't think it's as mindless as we think, or as pointless.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But I mean, I used it, right?
Yeah.
And I realized, like, yeah, this is a fun thing. I think that once you reach a certain level of knowledge or you gain some specific knowledge, you realize this thing, even though it gives me dopamine,
Yeah.
isn't good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use it.
Sure.
And I think that it's almost random when that happens. Like if people tell you about it and really show you and prove it to you,
Yeah,
that
it's
can
probably
happen
luck.
much younger.
But yeah.
But over the course of a life, if you're going to live 1,000 years,
Mhm.
there's a much higher chance that you'll be exposed to that at some
Sure.
point. And it's not just that. You need to also be exposed to, like, you got to be motivated and you got to do such and such. You have to have the right chemicals to be motivated. But like if you work out, then you'll be more able to
Yeah.
wean yourself off of that.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of things that go into it. But over time, like if people are living longer and longer,
Mhm.
they'll adapt mentally
Uh-huh.
to this and realize we should watch out for these mindless TikTok
Yeah. I see what you're
dopamine
saying.
things.
I guess I'm sort of imagining the sort of word you're talking about is like, further in the future, we have
Yeah.
a lot of technology, and there's like sort of like two factions of people. There are people that are using TikTok constantly and stuff, and then people that are kind of like free from the
They've
AI.
awoken.
Yeah.
They've awoken and they've realized
Yeah.
things about the universe
Mhm.
and they're watching out for stuff that's bad.
Yeah. The thing is, I think it's
And they're trying to reach other people who haven't yet.
yeah.
And they're trying to teach them.
I think it's almost
That's what this podcast is all about.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is probably something we can hopefully help
That's what
people.
we're, I
with.
mean, we're doing it right now. People listening to
Yeah.
this, if
The thing is-
if 1,000 people listen to this,
Yeah.
1 or 2 might stop using TikTok.
Sure. Also, I just realized the thing I described is almost what's already happening.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like there being like a faction of people that are always
Yeah.
using TikTok and stuff.
That's, yeah.
But not extreme is what I'm thinking. Like I'm thinking about like people that are actually like zombies and can't do anything except
Yeah.
use the AI algorithm.
Yeah.
But I think the issue is that it could just be so strong. Like it could think about this. The AI could basically not brainwash people, but like indirectly convince them. Or do you have time left? How much time do we have?
We're over it by 10 minutes.
I hate that so much. Really?
Yes.
Wow. God damn it. I so really.
All right, keep saying
But
it.
I was gonna say,
You're already over.
It can
man.
basically brainwash people against that other faction and like sort of
It
make them
already
think.
has.
Or no, more so be like, these people are horrible. We need to like not
Watch
like
out for the people trying to give you
watch
knowledge.
out for the people giving you knowledge, or like
Ooh.
make sure you have as many kids as possible, and poison the water so that the other people. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I see that, but I don't think like that in an actual conflict,
Mhm.
those people would win.
No.
I don't think they would win.
They
Like if,
wouldn't.
if the smart people versus the, and I'm just saying smart and dumb,
Yeah.
just for ease here. If
Sure.
the smart people were fighting the dumb people, I
With
think
the
the smart
free
people
versus
win.
enslaved.
Yeah.
But
What
yeah.
would really suck is if the AI was really directly controlling them a lot. Then it
Yeah.
might have a chance of beating.
Yeah, we're talking about sort of like AI we have now,
Yeah.
but who knows what sort of tools
Where it
we'll
just
have.
can like give them vague suggestions of
Yeah.
what to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
like just almost randomly,
The
like
thing is,
what
even
works
that
the best. Yeah.
even that is probably enough for it to take over
To take over a lot, but I don't think
Not
it'll
completely,
ever
but,
take
like,
over the real free thinkers.
Hopefully not.
And I think that given enough time, those free thinkers maybe can make some technology
Yeah.
or do something or find a way
Mhm.
to beat the AI. If it doesn't get a lot better.
Yeah.
As long as we don't
I
get
really
real
like this
AI.
idea, but I fear that it's a little bit optimistic.
It's optimistic, but
Yes.
I think that it would
Or-
work. Like as
yeah,
long as
overly
the AI doesn't get really good,
Yeah.
like given the status quo, if we
Mhm.
just keep things going the way they are, I think
Yes.
things would get better because people would adapt to the situation. Like the real
I hope so.
smart people would realize like, okay, how do we solve the problems?
Yeah.
Let's think about it and actually take action.
Yeah.
And the dumb people who aren't thinking about that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, not that they're dumb or stupid, whatever.
Yeah.
They're just mindlessly going about their day and they're not
Yeah.
actively countering it.
Yeah.
Like they're passively countering it, just doing bad
Yeah.
things.
But in ignoring it.
But
basically.
they're not
Yeah.
like fighting against the good
Yeah.
that's being done. Like I think the good,
Mhm.
and potentially, I mean, it could work the same way if someone was doing something evil and
Yeah.
smart people were really evil, then they could make the world a bad place, and they have
Sure.
with politics.
Yeah.
But I think the good people are also actively countering it. I
Yeah.
think there are good people. Like, thank you, Elon Musk. Take us to
Sure.
Mars. We really need
Take-
that.
Make a better AI. That
Make
will,
a good AI.
Make a good
Yeah.
AI that will free the other people.
We really need that.
Yes.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you, Elon. And holy shit, we are really
Way
like 10 minutes
time.
over.
Yeah.
We really need to start doing longer episodes.
I
'Cause
wish.
we just had so much to
I
say.
think we just. I don't know. We might need a new camera or something. I might need just like a shittier
Can we
camcorder,
just,
like a $200.
return this one.
I doubt it. No. Yeah, it's too.
We just need to
Freaking-
really get something that actually lets you do the thing
Yeah.
where it breaks it back up.
It
or whatever.
resets. Yeah. That would be nice.
That'd be really nice.
That would work well.
Oh well. No, so next time, I can help with this if you want. We should have some sort of images during this
Images.
black screen of us talking.
Oh,
Because the last one, it was
Yeah.
only a couple of minutes, but it was like,
yeah,
or not the last one. For you guys, the fourth podcast.
yeah. That would be nice.
It was just a few minutes of nothing.
See, a
and then
lot of
just-
podcasts are just like a still image,
Sure.
and some are just audio.
So-
like some are completely audio.
We should just end
We
the
should
podcast.
end it. All right.
Leave
Thank
the
you
meta
guys
talk.
for watching.
Yes.
Don't forget
Thank
comment,
you guys
subscribe.
for not watching the rest of this because it is black screen.
Yeah,
But
comment some names for the podcast.
right. Yeah.
And what you think we should do about this camera thing. Like, what would you like?
Yeah,
do you
if you
want
guys-
audio with just images after this, or
Sure.
how should we fix this? What should we do?
Yes.
Let us know
Yeah. If you guys have creative solutions.
if there's anyone still watching.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much. Definitely. Thank you so much if you're listening.
I don't know
still.
why I'm looking at the camera. It's off.
Yeah, me too. I'm also looking at the camera.
All right.
Just in case. But all right.
Okay. Well, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.